Seconds. All right, guys, welcome back to episode 3 of On the Mic with JB Banda. Today, I've got a special guest, my brother from Leeds. He's a professional boxer. 9 times, he's won 9 times, 4 of those coming by knockouts, 1 loss. He's a Continental Super Bantamweight WBA. This guy he's amazing. Last year, he fought on the biggest fight of them all, you know, the AJ Povetkin fight. And if you haven't seen it, then you missed out. He won literally by KO, fighting against Ashley Lane. That fight was amazing. It was a quick fight. I'm joined by the one and only Qais Ashfaq. How are you doing, bro? How's it going, bro?
I'm great. You know, taking over in the lockdown. As you can tell by my lockdown beard right now. But yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, brother. I'm doing great. Yeah, I can see you're embracing the beard, man. It's looking good, man.
Yeah. There's no barber to cut it.
Yeah.
I'm too scared to cut it myself.
Man? How you doing? How have you been? Good?
Great, yeah, you know, just like I said, taking over. As we mentioned before, I had a little operation last week on my elbow, which has been giving me a lot of trouble for the last year or so. And which, to be honest with you, was partly a reason to that 1 loss that you mentioned. Yeah. But, you know, we put that behind us and we keep moving forward.
Yeah. Nah, definitely. All right, I just want to jump back to a lot of people, obviously, that don't know about your journey. I just want to start from the beginning, because obviously, born in Leeds. Just talk about your childhood and your upbringing. Like, how was that?
So, in terms of when we talk about boxing, I started boxing when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And I'm 27. I'm 28 in March. Wow. So I've been doing it nearly 20 years, pretty much. Yeah. My cousin used to fight before me.
Okay.
He had about 16, 20 amateur fights. Never turned pro. But his dad actually got me into it because he noticed that I had a bit of a interest in what he was doing. And from there, I started going to the gym and I loved it. First things first, it was the atmosphere. I used to enjoy having a good laugh with the lads. We had a great team around us. Great set of lads around my age. And yeah, I used to enjoy the atmosphere. Then slowly, as it went on, you know, the natural progression, I was asked to spar, which I laughed off at first. I was thinking, no, why am I going to spar? I've just come here to have a laugh. Then after that, I was asked to have a fight. Again, I laughed. I was looking at the coach thinking, is he serious? Because, you know, in my head, I wasn't there. Not that I wasn't there seriously, because I was always a hard worker. But it just never crossed my mind to actually go in and fight. Because I was enjoying watching everyone else fight.
Yeah.
But like I said, natural progression, went into the championships, started winning championships. But way before that, I've always been sporty. I've always enjoyed sport, whether it's football, cricket, you name it. I was always a very active kid to start with. And I've always been called a bit of a fighter. Reason being, not because of the streets or anything like that, but because I was born, I think it was 6 or 8 weeks premature.
Wow.
When I was born, they said to my dad that it's either I'm going to survive or my mum's going to survive, but we both survived.
No way.
And I was something like 3 pounds when I was born. So I was tiny.
Wow.
My mum always told me the story, and you know, because she always said, "Look how small you were when you were born, and you grew up to be a boxer."
Wow, that is powerful, man. That is amazing. So you've been fighting all your life, pretty much.
That's it, man. Literally, even before I came out.
Well, just talk to us. Like, at what stage did you know, like, okay, this is like, I am good at this. Okay, this is like, I can definitely do something with this. Like, at what age and at what stage did you figure that out?
You know, people find this weird, right? So I had my first fight when I was 11.
Yeah.
I won my first national title when I was 12.
Wow.
I won it again when I was 13 and 14. But I think it took me, 2 national titles to win 2 titles in the whole of England, be number 1 in England for 2 or 3 years before I actually thought to myself, you know what, I'm quite good at this.
Yeah.
And that's where my confidence came from as a kid as well, where because I was succeeding, I was doing well, I was winning and becoming number 1 again and again over the years, that I built confidence. And like I say, most people, they'll win a few fights and they'll think they're the best. But for me, it took me 2 full national titles to win before I actually realised that, you know what, I'm actually quite good at this. And maybe I could do something.
Yeah. So how did they obviously you went to the Commonwealth Games. How did that come about?
So obviously, winning national titles as you go on, you get scouted by the GB team and stuff like that. And I got on the GB team when I was, I think, 17. 17, yeah, about 17. And obviously at that stage, I was too young. Well, not experienced enough for the Delhi Games, which were in 2010. And then the Olympic Games in 2012, I wasn't experienced for neither. That's why I went to the 2014 Glasgow Commonwealth Games and then the Olympic Games in Rio.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, the more titles you win, obviously I was making big impressions, and eventually you get a letter through the post or call on the phone to say, listen, we want you to try out for the GB team. And there was about, from England, Scotland and Wales, altogether there must have been about 60 to 80 fighters. And out of all of them, over, I think, 4 different trials where, for example, all of us win the first one, the second one, there's a few less, next one, a few less, and the last one, there's like 15 tops. And then they pick who they want to bring on the team. So out of about 60 or 80, 3 of us got picked, and I was one of them.
Yeah.
And from then, I was on the GB team, and I boxed for GB for 8 years until after the Olympics, after boxing the Rio Olympics. After that, I turned pro.
Wow. So talk to us about obviously going on that, like being scouted, doing the rounds, and then you went to the Commonwealth game. Like, how was the feeling? Like, what was that like, obviously going there at the Commonwealth?
So I went to the Commonwealth game and no one would expect anything from me because I was so experienced. I kind of came up pretty quick in a way, and I was very unexperienced in terms of the rest of the fighters in the tournament. They had all the experience. Like, for example, there was Olympic bronze medalists in there, World Championship medalists, Asian Games medalists, you name it, they were all in there. And I was kind of the new guy on the scene. But yeah, there was nothing really expected of me. And I went out there and I won a silver medal. And the only person I lost to was Michael Conlon, who was the Olympic bronze medalist, the world champion, the European champion, and the Commonwealth champion before.
Wow.
And that was a close fight. A lot of people thought it could have gone either way. But for me, I lost that fight. More on experience, and I always put my hands up to that. But then I boxed him again in the European final. I lost again, but in that fight, everyone in that arena thought I won the fight.
Yeah.
But that's boxing for you. You can't really complain once the decision's done.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I was kind of no one knew about me until the Commonwealth Games. And then the great thing with the Commonwealth Games is a lot of media coverage, and that's when people started to hear about me and started to see more of me. And obviously with the Commonwealth Games being on BBC, there was a lot of coverage in England as well.
Yeah. And obviously, like the Rio as well, like how was that? Obviously, from the Commonwealth, you went out, you won silver. That was amazing. I'm sure your family was proud and everybody was like, wow, this guy is something. Like you said, getting a little bit of like media attention and people started knowing who you are. And then you went to the Rio. How did you find the Rio? What was different from the Commonwealth to the Rio?
Rio, and as experience, was amazing. Unbelievable experience. But my only downfall for me was I had so many injuries at the time. Straight after the Olympics, I had an operation on my hand.
Yeah.
I had a broken nose from the qualifiers before the Olympics.
Wow.
So I couldn't even breathe out of one side. This elbow was the other elbow at the time, actually, sorry, was giving me a lot of problems. But like I say, I genuinely believe if I was fully fit, I was more than capable of winning the medal in the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
But it wasn't meant to be due to injuries. But like I say, I'm a firm believer in God and God's plan, and that's the way I've always been brought up. So whatever's meant to be is meant to be, and I'm sure God's got a better plan for me.
100%. Now, jumping into you, obviously turning pro, you came back from the Rio there, and what made you decide, all right, this is it, I'm just gonna go for it here and become pro? Like, what was that like from your coaches, or was that solely on yourself? Like, how did that come about?
It was on myself, but it was kind of something I always thought in my head. I thought, whether I get to the 2016 Olympics or not, I'm turning pro. Because obviously, I'd love to be an Olympic champion. That was a dream of mine. But the main goal is to be world champion as a pro, and to be able to provide for family in the best way possible. And that's my aim now, my goals now. So that's what made me turn pro.
Yeah. And how was that your first fight?
First, it was very delayed because I had a few problems with promotions to start with. But finally, when I got out there, it was great. It was slightly different. in terms of fighting and the style. Our boxer kid who was a bit of a journeyman, he was very negative. But like I say, it's all a learning process. And as you've probably seen, I'm getting pushed up the ranks pretty fast. I've only had 10 fights.
Yeah.
I'm getting pushed up the ranks very fast. I'm already ranked in the top 40 in the world or something. So I'm basically learning on the job, because the pro game is very different to the amateur game. But like I say, I'm learning, and don't get me wrong, there have been mistakes on the way.
Yeah.
But, I won't let them define me. And like I said, that one loss that I had 2 fights ago, again, was because of injuries and because of certain things that I couldn't really control.
Yeah.
But I'm still a firm believer in God, and that I will, reach my goals. And in terms of the opponent that I boxed in that fight, he was nowhere was he better than me or anything like that.
Yeah.
But he had a very good night and had a very bad night because of certain reasons. And like I said, I'm trying to get the rematch, but the kid knows he don't want it. But we're moving on. That's why we took that fight straight away with Ashley Lane.
Yeah.
And listen, I've got a great management team behind me in 258 management, who's, as you might know, is also AJ and AJ's team.
AJ's team. Yeah.
And they pushed me the right route. And like I say, it was that fight straight after with Ashley Lane that was the fight that was meant to happen the fight before.
Yeah.
But then 2 weeks before, we got given a different opponent who was total opposite, who we hadn't prepared for. But like I say, you live and you learn.
And how was that? How was it? Obviously, being like joining there, like you say, you're part of the AJ team. Like, how did that come about, and how how did you go around that?
So again, me and AJ go back a long way.
Yeah.
We actually got in the WBA team within 2 weeks of each other.
Yeah.
So, for example, I knew AJ, I think must be 3-4 years before he even won the Olympics.
Wow.
I've known him for a long time. And it kind of came to a point where in my pro, I had a different manager before. And it came to a point where I felt like I needed a new manager. And literally got on the phone. I gave AJ a call. I said to him, listen, I know you got this management team set up. What are the chances of him wanting to do some work with me and helping me out? And he goes, you know what, Qais? Because he knows me. He knows how talented I am. He knows, that I've got the potential I have. And he goes, I'm going to speak to him, and I'm going to get him in touch. And I think it must have been a week later, maybe, I had a phone call, and we started getting things sorted, because, like I say, my contract with my old manager had finished. So I needed a new manager either way. So yeah, we moved, and now I'm very happy and pleased and blessed to be with the 258 management.
Yeah, and they've been good to you as well, yeah?
They're great, unbelievable.
And I want to go back to, obviously, when you winning your WBA, like, what was that like? How was that moment? Because you're fighting against Joe, wasn't it?
Joe Ham, yeah. So Joe Ham, me and him had a bit of a rivalry in the amateurs as well, because we boxed, I think, 4 times in the amateurs. And it was 3-1 to me, believe it or not.
Wow.
and his last fight as an amateur was against me.
Mm.
So the last time I beat him, he turned pro after that. So obviously we had a bit of rivalry. Obviously he wanted revenge, and I knew I could go out there and do what I do best. And that's what happened. I went out there, and again, I was physically and mentally, I was in a perfect space, and that's why I performed so well.
Yeah.
Against, like I say, he was, I think, 18-1. He was.
Because that was your 4th, wasn't it? You were 3-0.
Seventh, I think it was. 7th.
Oh, 7th.
Yeah. 7th fight. 7th or 8th, something like that. But like I say, he was 18-1, so he had 19 fights. So he won my 8th fight. That just shows what sort of, because I boxed in the Olympics, I've got that pedigree as an amateur, and I'm known from, I've got a bit of reputation and all that sort of stuff. That's why they push me pretty fast, because they know I'm more than capable of doing these things and moving forward. And yeah, like I say, boxed Joe Ham, my first title, and won the WBA Continental title, and it was a great night in Manchester Arena.
Yeah,
that was actually my last. That was my last fight before the lockdown.
Yeah.
So that's the last fight that I've had where there's been a full crowd.
A full crowd. And then obviously you then went, and then with your next fight then with the injury, that's when the loss came about. Was that when that happened?
Yeah, that was devastating, because like I say, I know I'm more than capable of beating that kid. And the person that I actually boxed, I sparred him for years. We used to be in the same camp. And I used to play with him. It used to be easy. And maybe that was a bad judgment of mine, because maybe in my head I was thinking, okay, there's all these problems. There are issues in camp. There are injuries, but I'll still beat him. You know what I mean? But even though, don't get me wrong, it was a close fight, a very close fight. Could have gone either way. But I felt like on that night, everything was against me. Not just the stuff behind the scenes or injuries. It was also, I felt like the referee was against me.
Yeah.
Referee, I got first knockdown. I got elbowed as I got put down as well. Which, okay, fair enough. At least with that first knockdown, he caught me with a good shot before. Fair enough. So I always put my hand up to that. I'm a very straightforward person. If you knock me down with a good shot, fair enough. But even though it was more of a push, but at least he hit me before. But the second knockdown, everyone that's seen it says that shouldn't have been a knockdown. And if it wasn't for that, I'd have won that fight.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, on a scorecard. But like I say, I just felt like everything on that night just wasn't meant to be, and what was meant to be from God happened. And like I say, I'm sure down the line, if he stops running away, I'll get the rematch.
Yeah.
And I'll make that wrong right. But right now it's one of those things that I'm so devastated about. But I'm moving forward, and I won't let a bad night due to certain reasons bring me down. I won't let it define me.
No, 100%. Yeah. Now, listen, there's a lot of talk, obviously, with you guys being professional boxers and stuff. Like, how does that affect you mentally with your mental health when you're dealing with, like, prep going into the fight, and also when you have a loss or some, like for yourself, like how do you deal with that mentally from the mental perspective side? Because a lot of people would like to know that. You know what I mean? So
first things first, right? You might laugh at this, but you've half got to be mental to become a boxer. That's something that there's got to be something in your mind to think, yeah, I'm going to go in there every day and get punched for a living. You know what I mean? But at the same time, as a boxer, as I know personally, one of my coping mechanisms is getting in the gym and hitting a bag. And that always helps me mentally, and obviously physically as well, but mentally, it helps me get my frustrations out and stuff like that. But obviously, with the lockdown right now and the gym's being closed, I can see why it must be hard, not just for boxers, but people in general. Because for me personally, not being able to go to the gym and hit a bag or hit the pads or spar, I'm not getting that frustration out, and it is hard in terms of my mental state and stuff. But,
and what are you doing to deal with that? Like, what are you doing to help?
See, for me, I'm blessed in the sense that I'm very religious, and that gets me through every day, let alone lockdown, gets me through every single day. And even as you've seen probably my interviews before about, for example, that loss, that's what gets me through. If it wasn't for that, maybe I would be depressed. Maybe I wouldn't have fought 6 weeks later and put on a performance on the AJ bill. But what gets me through and what keeps my mind right is my religion and belief in God and, a higher power, and what's meant to be is meant to be. 100%. That's what's always got me through.
And would you say, because I agree with you on that 100%, because I'm the same, and I did have, like, back in 2016, I suffered from a mental health breakdown where I was actually admitted in a mental institution in Essex. But I felt like what got me through was my religion, being like, just believing in God and praying. I felt like that kind of helped me come out of it. Like, how is it important, is religion, in terms of mentally? How is that important? Would you say it's definitely important to be religious or to believe in a high power? Because I know a lot of people that will listen to this, they might not be religious, it might not be their thing, but would you say, like, if you've got, like, something that you believe in, it does help you get through, difficult times?
See, for me, and I'm sure it's the same for you, it's the fundamentals. It's what I've been taught as a kid, and it's how I've been brought up as a kid. But yeah, like you say, it helps amazingly, because when things are going wrong, so I'm a firm believer, when things are going wrong or things are going right, you should still turn to God. Not just when things are going wrong, but when things are going wrong, who do you turn to? Yeah. For me, like I say, it's my belief that I turn to God, but not just when it's going bad, but when going good as well. And it's tough for people to understand that aren't religious, but it's a weird sense of, it's that sense of faith, that sense of, even when you're alone, there's, God's with you, And I believe that just that little saying there, even when you're alone, God's with you, goes 100%. A long way. And it's that's what gets me through, and that's what got me through the hardest times in my career. Because as you can imagine, for example, we're talking about Rio. I lost in Rio again against someone who I sparred 6 months before, and it was easy.
Yeah.
But when I came to Rio, I was injured, and I promise you, for at least 2 weeks in Rio, because I had 2 more weeks before I went home, I was depressed. But when I got home, and got myself together, you turn to God, and you realize that there is a higher power, and whatever's meant to be is meant to be, and you can only pray and hope and believe that God has a better plan, and that's what will get you through.
100%, man. No, I definitely, I believe in that. And obviously, lockdown last year, and this year we're still in lockdown. What would you say? There was a lot that happened last year in terms of, the Black Lives Matter, the movement and things like that. I just want to talk to you, obviously, being a professional sportsman. Have you experienced that in your professional career, racism, or just as a child growing up? Because obviously your family is from, is it Pakistani, correct?
Pakistan, yeah.
So how have you dealt with that?
So if I'm honest with you, obviously being a Pakistani, I was born and bred here. My parents weren't, but I was. All my life, I'll be honest with you, I've had that. I've had to cope with it. And it has been harder at times, but for me personally, obviously the whole Black Lives Matters movement, it's important because people need to understand that first things first, that doesn't mean only Black Lives Matter. It also means all lives matter. And that's including Asian people like myself as well. But yeah, like I say, even as a kid, I've had it all my life. It's not something that's never really gone away, not fully at least. It's been up and down. And as you can imagine, from like 9/11 and stuff like that, it got worse. And sometimes it feels like it keeps getting worse. But we've just got to, like I said, we've just got to keep faith. That's all we can do. And again, it's all about turning to God and our beliefs. And it's been hard to cope with at times. And sometimes I feel like I have been victimized in ways. Even in sport, I feel like sometimes I've been victimized. I've got a lot of, for example, cricket player friends.
Yeah.
And footballers that I know that have been through it as well. And they feel like sometimes they've been victimized in the sport. But like I said, this is something we've kind of learned to live with, even though that doesn't sound right saying that we should learn to live with it. But we have learned to live with it and to cope with it. And we do what we can to make the world a better place. And like I say, just the little things, positivity, a bit of love goes a long way. And the more, I've not known you for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just the way I am. Like, I'm just, I don't change for anyone. And like I said, my religion, again, when you go back to religion, it's brought me up to be humble and the way I am.
100%.
And if I can spread that cheer and spread that positivity and spread that love myself to one person at a time, and they're going to think, oh, you know what? He's Asian and he's such a nice guy, such a nice human being.
It's true, because I almost feel like we always get judged before people speak to us. It's weird because a lot of people, like a lot of my friends when I was growing up in school, like once their parents get to know me, they would be like, I didn't expect that. Like, I thought you were going to be one of these rude boys, and like and I was like, my mom didn't raise me like that. Like, she raised me to respect your elders, be humble, so like a lot of people are surprised by that. I feel like we do get judged.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, before people speak to us.
Yeah, exactly that. Like you say, and I get it myself. And like I said, I don't act like anything I'm not. I've been brought up a certain way, and as you've probably seen yourself, it's just a way I am.
Yeah.
And like I say, if we can spread that to one person at a time, and they see me and think, you know what, he's not like that. So why will the rest of them be that way? You shouldn't judge a book by its cover. And I'm not even. I say judge a book by its cover, but that doesn't. But I don't believe in covers anyway, because I'm not saying all black people, all Asian people, all white people are a certain way. You should judge them by when you meet them, not what the media or anyone else portrays them to be.
100%. No, you're right. How did the meeting with you and Amir Khan come about? Because I know he was a very big inspiration to you and getting into boxing.
So,
talk to us about it.
Amir, you know what? I can't even, honestly, I couldn't even tell you when I first met him. midway through my career as an amateur, I met him at some point, but literally, since that day, and I love him for this. Since that day, he's always been there for support. If I've ever needed him, give him a call and he's there. Funnily enough, you talk about me. What's the day today? A couple of days ago, I was with him at his house.
No way.
It's funny you mention that. That's just he's very much like us. He's very humble. He's very straight up. He's a genuine nice person, and I've always appreciated the fact that I think I must have met him when I was about 15, 16 maybe.
Yeah.
And since that day, took my number. I said, "You ever need anything, give me a call. I'm there." And that's the way he's always been. And believe it or not, after seeing him a couple of days ago, I'm doing a little training camp with him in two weeks in Dubai.
Oh, nice. Because I think, is he not got a fight coming up or something, or he's trying to set up a fight or something, isn't he?
There's talks about Kell Brook.
Yeah.
But it's whether that fight's been, there's been talked about that fight for a long time. So whether that happens or not, I don't know. But he's also doing his own little promotional stuff in Pakistan at the moment.
Yeah.
So Pakistan had their first ever professional boxing show last year.
No way.
And that was because of Amir Khan.
Wow.
He's trying to get the whole the country to invest a bit more time in the sport that he loves and in the sport that's got him so far in his life and his career. And he's also, as you might know, right now the WBC have made him the WBC Middle East, like the head guy of the Middle East.
Oh yeah, I know, because I've always been seeing him. He's been flying down to the Middle East and Abu Dhabi, and he's been doing a lot of things down there, hasn't he?
Yeah, so he's the main boss of WBC Middle East now, of that sector, and he's moved out to Dubai now, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I think in April he'll be moving there full time.
Wow, amazing! Definitely, that is good. So when is your next fight?
Well, Ramadan's coming up mid-April.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping for something right before that. If I can get something end of March, beginning of April, that'd be perfect. Because obviously with the elbow, it's going to take 2 to 4 weeks until I can fully punch again, and then to get fit for maybe like a 10-rounder, take about 6 to 8 weeks. So yeah, maybe just before Ramadan, end of March, April time, but nothing confirmed yet.
Yeah. And how was it different? Obviously, going into the fight against Ashley Lane last year, like how was that on the biggest stage? Like you looked sharp. Like your training, how was your training going into that?
Training was different because coming off a loss. It was how do I say? No bullshit. Basically, it was straight in there. I literally had a week and a half off. When I got the call from 258, I was like, no, without a doubt, I want to get back in that ring, because in my eyes, I didn't do myself justice in the last fight, and everyone saw that. Even the commentator was saying, this just doesn't look like Qais. I wonder what's going on, and that's all it was. It just wasn't me in there, because there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes, plus injuries, plus the late change of opponent. But when I got told about this fight against Ashley Lane, because funnily enough, Ashley Lane was the opponent that was meant to happen the fight before that.
Yeah.
So for 6 months, I'd trained for Ashley Lane.
Yeah.
Basically. So when I got in there, it was like, this is what I trained for. Like the last fight, I never trained for that opponent.
Yeah.
It was a total opposite of what I trained for. But this time, I've actually got the person that I've actually trained for, and I've got an extra 6 weeks to train for him as well. And plus, even with the injury, which was very bad at the time, like it was bad to a point where I remember sparring in that last camp, and after 2 rounds, having to jump out because of the pain.
Yeah.
I mean, that was literally 2 weeks before the fight. Literally 2 rounds in to one of my last spars, I had to jump out because the pain was unbelievable in my elbow.
Wow.
But I knew in myself that I could get through this fight. Reason being, Ashley Lane was a lot smaller than me. So if you watch the fight back now, you'll notice I never really threw or committed properly with a straight jab.
Yeah.
If I threw it, I was hooking it. I never committed with a straight jab because of the pain. Because when the pain goes, it's a really sharp, nervy sort of pain.
Wow.
So that's why we took the fight, because we thought perfect opponent I've trained for, even with the injury. Because I've had the injury for the last maybe 3 fights.
Wow.
But it's got worse and worse and worse. And obviously the fight that I lost, it was probably the worst it's been, because he was awkward and I missed the jab a lot of time because I was half scared to throw it in a way. But like I say, I never made no excuse about that fight. That's just between us. I just said, listen, it was a bad night. But yeah, the Ashley Lane fight, because it was so much smaller, I could use my hooks and not have to fully lock out the jab where it hurt. And that's why I thought, you know what, let's take this fight. It's a perfect fight. I can manage the injury. Then straight after the injury, I got on to the consultants for the operation, and if I'll finally have a jab back in a few weeks.
Yeah, it was, mate. It was. I mean, somebody fight with an injury. It was a very quick fight. Like, it was quick, and you were really good.
Like, that's saying there was no bullshit.
Nah.
You could see it in the fight. There was no feeling out process. I came in to prove a point, and that's what I did.
You did prove a point, man. 100%. You smashed it.
And what people forget, yeah, in the start of his career, he wasn't very good in terms of his record, but his last 9 fights, he'd lost 1 fight.
Wow.
And that was only to the British and Commonwealth champion, who took him 12 rounds.
Wow.
And I knocked him out in 4.
Yeah.
And this was the former 2 fights ago. And that fight that he lost was 2 fights ago against the British and Commonwealth champ. And 2 fights ago, he was the Commonwealth champion.
Wow.
And I went out there and beat him in 4 rounds. And that was a statement I wanted to put out there and to show people, you know what? Yeah, that last fight was a bad night. It was an off night. I don't make no excuse for that. But I'm here to stay and I'm here to get to the top. And, you know, I'll get that rematch. Because I called out for the rematch straight away. I said to him, I want that rematch. If you're going to keep running, carry on. I'll let my success do the talking. But if you want the rematch, now's your chance.
Yeah, no, 100%. Mate, it's just been an honor talking to you, man. Definitely. Like, when do you think things are gonna go back to normal with this lockdown? Like, where are you with all what's going on?
I hope soon, man. I can't even go out and eat. It's doing my head in. But I'm hoping sooner rather than later. But you know, like I say, it's tough to predict, but we've all just got to stick to the guidelines and do whatever we can. Whether it's helping or not, I don't know. That's the truth. And whether it's as bad as it's made out on the media, I don't know again. But all we can do is be extra safe and stick to the guidelines. And if we keep doing that, I'm sure sooner rather than later, the lockdown will be over. But at least boxing's back in February.
100%. I know, definitely, yeah. And do you reckon, like, the quick one, do you reckon the AJ Fury is gonna happen? Like, where are you with that one?
I think it's about time it does, personally, and I think it will. Providing all the governing bodies like the WBC, WBA, IBF, all them, they don't put a spanner in the works. I believe this year it'll happen.
When do you reckon, like, towards the end of the year?
Probably, yeah. I'm guessing toward the end of the year, yeah. But only because AJ just boxed as well recently, so yeah, I'm guessing toward the end of the year.
And do you reckon it's going to be here or it's going to be abroad?
Good question. Very good question. I wouldn't be surprised personally if it's on a random island just because they can get fans there. Don't be surprised. But as long as I'm on the undercard,
yeah,
I don't mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But you have to get on that one because that is going to be mad.
That's going to be the biggest fight in a long time. Long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And who do you think is going to take it?
AJ, man, come on. No, it's a good fight. I've always said this is a very good fight. And whoever turns up on the night and gets tactics right will win the fight. But
you like Fury's an awkward fighter, though.
He's very, very awkward. But for me, in that heavyweight division, if anyone has the skill set to beat Fury, it's AJ.
Yeah.
And he's shown how versatile he is, how he can box now. Well, he was always able to box, but he showed against Ruiz, the second fight, that he can box if he needs to. He can fight if he needs to. He's got the power. He can take you out in one punch.
True.
But like you say, it's all about getting past them long levers of Tyson Fury.
I just feel like Fury, he's so quick and nimble, and the fact like he can take a punch.
He's a nightmare for anyone. I promise you, he's a nightmare for anyone. To size him as well, he's a lot taller than AJ.
Yeah.
But again, I do believe with AJ being a little bit smaller, I think that'll play in AJ's favour personally. Because it'll duck and roll, or come from the bottom. And me, from experience, I know that fighting someone smaller than you can be awkward in many ways if they use the height right.
Yeah.
But like I say, I've always said AJ from the start. And don't get me wrong, I do rate Fury, and I'm a big fan of Fury highly. But for me, it's AJ all day long.
And what would you say AJ would do? How many rounds?
I'm gonna say 7-8.
7-8?
7-8, yeah. I think AJ stops Fury in 7-8 rounds. But again, like I say, it's because of how explosive he is, how good of a finisher he is, and because he's shown time and time again that he's very versatile in terms of styles. And yeah, don't get me wrong, Fury showed in the second fight against Wilder that he could change his tactics too, but he can't do that against an AJ. He can't go full like that against an AJ because AJ is very compact and very physically strong as well, whereas Wilder was getting ragged about, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, like I say, AJ wins that fight, and but I promise you, it'll be very entertaining while it lasts.
100%. And obviously, you watch all types of boxing. What do you think of the Dillian Whyte fight? Do you reckon he's gonna win this time round?
Well, he was winning the first time round, and I was watching that fight. I couldn't believe it when
I know
he got knocked out. But credit to Povetkin, it was the perfect shot.
That left, it was like a Hail Mary left hook.
Technically, it was unbelievable as well. I was watching thinking, this is what they teach when you first start boxing, how to throw it perfectly like that, you know. But yeah, like I said, I think he's more than capable of beating Povetkin, as he showed the first few rounds. But he can't. It depends on how he comes back mentally. In my eyes, if he's obviously because he's been knocked out, some people don't come back the same from that. But yeah. I believe Dillian Whyte is strong mentally, and I believe he's more than capable, like I say, of beating Povetkin. But he's just got to be mentally right.
Absolutely, man. Nah, definitely. Mate, it's been amazing talking to you, bro. Just want to say a big thank you for jumping on the podcast. And listen, I've been following your journey, man. Like, you are literally an inspiration, man. Tell the people, how can people get in touch with you, man? Let the people know, like, how can they keep up with your story?
You can get onto me on Instagram and Twitter. It's at QAIS _ ASHFAQ, so Qais Ashfaq, and that's the same on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
Or even you can Facebook me. It's my first name with a KEZZ in between my name, because that's what everyone calls me. Because obviously, the way my parents call me is Qais.
Yeah.
That's hard for people to say. So everyone calls me Qais.
yeah, Qais. Yeah.
Yeah. So get a Facebook, any social media. If you search me up on social media, I'll be there.
And what would you say the goal is in this career for you? Like, how far do you want to take boxing for you?
I want to get to the top, man. Listen, I've got the best thing, but about last year for me in lockdown was having a baby boy.
Wow! Congratulations, bro.
Thank you, man. Thank you. He's 8.
I have been hearing a bit of noise in the background.
I thought you might have been listening.
I know. I've been hearing a little bit of I've been hearing a little bit of noise in the background. I was like, he's got a big house.
Yeah, that's him. But that's the best thing that happened to me, you know, in last year, and that's my motivation, my family. And my family's always been my motivation, but it gives me an extra bit of a push now. Now I've got a son, and I want to get to the top for him. I want to be able to, first things first, win world titles, just so you know he can see how his dad was, you know, a world champion, and hopefully many different weights and many different titles.
Yeah,
and on top of that, be able to provide financially as well, and not have a worry in the world in terms of that. And that's always been my motivation.
And who are you sort of looking at right now? Obviously, your next fight, like, who have you got in your head? Like, who are you kind of thinking these are the guys that I want to fight?
I'll fight anyone. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
If you look at my record, I've never shied away from a fight. Whoever the management team put in front of me, I'm ready to fight. Don't get me wrong, I want that rematch, because I know second time around, when everything's right, I'll beat him all day long. Now I've got my jab back. I'll beat him all day long. But, whether he runs away or not, that's that's yet to be seen. But either way, I'm gonna let my success do the talking, and I'm gonna get to top either way. And that one bad night will be insignificant once I get to top, God willing.
Yeah. And what weight would you sort of like to climb up to? Like, where do you reckon you can get to in terms of climbing weight?
I'm a big to bantamweight.
Yeah.
So easily, I reckon I could easily go to featherweight, if not lightweight. And that's what three weights above already. Like I spar I spar like welterweights.
Yeah.
when I'm in the gym, and that's like 4 or 5 weights above me, and I have no problem there. And to be honest, the bigger they get, the slower they get as well. So it kind of helps. Then you got to be wary because they get stronger though.
Yeah. No. That's good, man. And do you reckon you're gonna try and get him down the runs through the boxing?
You know,
well?
I've seen it yesterday to the missus. If he wants to fight, I'll always support him, no matter what. But it's got to be something that comes from him, because I've seen so many times in boxing people that have been forced, or not forced, but pushed by the parents, and they've not done it and not done it properly, not come through. Because for me, you need that self motivation, and that's always something that I had. No one ever forced me into it. It was always my own personal motivation, and I reckon that's important to get to the top, because when it's 6 a.m. in the morning, no one's awake. No one's going to wake you up. You've got to wake up yourself and go for them runs. You know, you need that self motivation to want to do what you want to do, and to help to enjoy what you want to do to get to the top.
I wonder what did your parents want you to become when you was a kid? Because I bet they didn't think boxing was going to be one of them.
No chance. You know what? Even till this day, my mum can't watch me fight. You know that?
No way.
I've been boxing 20 years nearly, and she still can't watch me fight. Not live, at least.
Wow.
She'll watch it after. Once she knows what's happened, she'll watch the fight afterwards.
Yeah.
But she can't watch me live. But like I said, I don't know what they've ever wanted or expected me to be, because at such a young age, I started boxing, which was 8 years old. I didn't know what I wanted to be myself at 8 years old, you know. But went on, you know. But they've always drilled education into me, though.
100%.
Well, I literally, the only time I left education was my second year in uni. Reason being, I got put on the full-time Great Britain team.
Yeah.
And that was the only reason that I left. Otherwise, I'd have, you know, gone for right to the end of education as well. But they've always drilled education into me. My dad always said to me, if you ever get a bad report or bad results in terms of grades and stuff, then you're not boxing. And that made me work even harder.
Yeah, definitely. Now,
this was after winning about, I'd won about 4, maybe 5 national titles, right? And Dad used to say to me, I don't care how many national titles you've won. If you get a bad grade or you get a bad report in parents' evening, you're not going boxing no more. It was that deep, bro.
Yeah.
I have a choice.
Nah, definitely, bro. Oh man, this has been amazing talking to you. Listen, man, literally appreciate you jumping in.
Listen, anytime you want me on again, just let me know.
Man, bro, I will definitely let you know, man. And we've got the new merchandise coming up as well. I'm gonna send you that as soon as it drops, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
And for putting us
on. You know that black and white one. It's become every day. I wear that hat, you know, the black and white one.
Oh, mate, definitely.
I wear that. I probably wear it every day. It's hung up on the inside of my door. Yeah, so I'm going out. It's the first one I grab, put it straight on.
Nah, that's good, man. Definitely. As soon as the merchandise drops, I'm gonna send you a few, man. Because you put us on the map, man. You definitely did, bro.
I appreciate the love, man. I appreciate it.
Nah, thank you so much, man. And a big congratulations on your son, man. Like, definitely,
thank you, man. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this episode, guys. Make sure you go and support Qais on all the platforms, and make sure you listen to this, stream it, download it, watch it, subscribe. It's on Apple, it's on Spotify as well. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for your support. Subscribe on YouTube as well. Yeah, see you guys next time.